Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Autism Classroom Starter Guide review. I'm going to type something in the chat and make sure you can see it. Let's see. Let me know if you can see what I have typed in the chat. Also, if you can, let me know where. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Barbara. Good, it's working. Let me know where you are joining us from, because that kind of just helps us to see, who's here. Okay, good. All right. We got Texas, Connecticut, Ohio, got a couple places, Kansas, all over. All right. Welcome. Connecticut, to Connecticut, Jersey. All right, cool. Thank you. And the other thing I'd like to know is how long you have been teaching students with autism. Now, if you're coming to the Autism Classroom Starter Guide review, guessing that there'll be a couple of folks that are just getting started, but also this is perfect for people who need a reset. So that works too. That works too. All right. Okay, good. Let's get started. Again, I have a handout. If you don't have your own copy of the Autism Classroom Ideas Starter Guide, it should. Let's see if my technology works here. I'm going to try to share it and see if you're able to download it. Now, if you can't download it, it's okay. I can send it to you later. And I'll give you my email later. But hopefully you'll be able to download it right there. Again, if not, I'll send it to you later. We're going to go through everything on there anyway. Because this is a guide to get your ideas flowing for your autism classroom. And things to consider before you step into that room. If you stay with me till the end, I'm going to talk to you about my full intensive teacher prep course and program that's going to dive deeper into some of these topics related to classroom setup, classroom organization. That course is designed to get people confident, ready, organized on day one. So before you start, when I think about people setting up an autism classroom, before you start, I'd like people to really think about, what is your why? What do you stand for as an educator? And how do you want to provide education? So let's look at that a little bit more. If you can, get a little piece of paper, maybe take a minute or two, find some paper and a pen, because you will be writing down a couple of things. What is a teacher without making someone write something down, right? So as we're thinking about this, I want you to ask yourself, have you really thought about your core values when it comes to educating students? So when you think about it, what 3 words can best describe your own core values? So just write down 3. If you don't feel like writing it, you can put it in the chat too. Oh, thank you, Barbara. Cannot download. So I'll send it to everybody after. It's like a 12 or 15 page document. All right, so think about your core values. I'll give you some time. Like for me, I believe that teachers of students with autism can set up a classroom environment that meets their needs, given the right resources and strategies. I think they can. Okay, I do see some in the chat. Relationships, safety. Okay. So once we think back to those questions, what is your why? What do you stand for as an educator? And how do you want to provide education? What you're going to do is use some of those values that you thought about and try to make a mission statement just for your classroom. And you can try this each year, because your classroom is going to change and the types of students that you're working with might change, the age level might change, so your mission might change. But a mission statement really tells the company's purpose and its overall intent. And I think that as teachers and educators, we can also benefit from a personal or classroom mission statement. So using that information, again, from the previous questions and your core values, write out a 1 or 2 sentence mission statement for educating your students. I'll give you some time. If you feel like you want to share in the comments, we would love it. If you want to keep this personal to yourself, that's fine too. So I'll give you about 30 seconds. Okay, and again, you can share it if you want to, if you don't want to. I know for me, my mission is to help teachers create an effective learning environment so they'll feel more in control of their classroom and confident that they are meeting their students' needs. And I try to showcase that in the course that I've created, in the blogs that I put on the autismclassroom.com website. And I try to make blogs and information that's practical and easy to use and easy to implement the next day if you need to. Because I think that I want to make the Autism Classroom organization attainable for teachers. Okay, again, if you want to share, you can. If not, don't worry about it. But I would like to know if you have it on your own piece of paper, can you give a thumbs up or a yes or no if you were able to come up with even one sentence as a mission statement? Okay, good. Okay. I want to make sure I have enough time. All right, good. All right, great. All right, so I've already said this. So if you don't feel okay, so even if you don't write it in our chat, I would like you to say it out loud to yourself. Just state it out loud. So I mean, sometimes when we speak things, they do happen. So we're going to go with that. And now we're going to get into some of the ideas. I think that I really like when you're starting out or restarting, just getting things flowing, just ideas flowing in your classroom. And here we go. So let me turn me off. Let's get into the question. First thing you want to do when you're starting out in the autism classroom, I would ask questions. If you're moving to a new school, if you're moving to a new building or a new classroom, find out a couple of things. What furniture is going to be in the classroom? What technology is going to be in there? Because if you're moving from a school that's high tech and you go to another school and they don't even have the smart board, that's going to change how you teach. So you want to know. And you want to know if the stuff is staying or if it's going to move. For most of us, we're going to work with para educators. So we want to know how many paraprofessionals will be in the classroom with you. How many students have a personal person assigned to them? Because that's going to tell you something. Anybody out there have a student that has a personal paraprofessional assigned to them? Because if they do, there's a reason. So you're going to want to know what the reason is before you step in the door. I think, okay, one of yours will have next year. Yeah, you want to know why. Like, what's going on there? What do you have to prepare for? Is there something special you have to create for that student? Okay, yep. Will childproof locks be needed in the classroom for the doors, cabinets, sinks, and closets? You wouldn't typically think you need to have childproof locks if you're teaching in fourth or fifth grade. But if you're in a classroom of students with autism, you probably do need to have some childproof locks. So you want to check in with the school to see what people are already using, what is allowed, what is not allowed, because you don't want to spend your money and then they say you can't use it. And then this is one that I just added. Do you have a combination lock or a locked cabinet for your personal items? I don't care what school you're in. I don't care how great that school is. I think you should lock up your things from day one. Second thing for Autism Classroom Starter Guide, I think you should take pictures of the classroom. If you are moving into a new space and you've never been there before, it's going to help you with your planning. You're going to ask them to either take pictures or let you come in and take pictures. Of course, without the students there. You would love to have a full room view, a half room view with both halves of the room, close-ups of each area. You want a picture of the cubbies or the lockers, the inside of the closets, so that you can see what materials are already there. And also you can see if you have a closet, right? Some rooms don't even have closet space. And you want to see the entryway. So a major snag in this process is that sometimes your classroom assignments change. So it's possible that you have a room or they tell you you're having one room and then sometimes they change it when the school year gets here. So if you're moving into a new space, try not to skip this
step because the pictures are going to help you to get a reference of, how you can design that space. And that's a huge part of that step-by-step course, focusing on classroom setup. And so it's good to know what you're working with. You have a huge classroom? Do you have a small classroom? And one of the key values in that course is empowering learning with the environment. You are setting up that environment to make sure the students can learn their best. And we give purpose to each space, learn how to set up centers and run centers, and also added a video about organizing small spaces because some classrooms are really small and people were asking about that. So that's in there too. If you want to, you got to think about identifying communication levels. When you speak about your students with autism, or you hear people talk about our students on the spectrum and their communication styles, what types of words do you hear them say? Like, what is one description that you hear when people discuss the communication style of your student or students? Because we know it's a spectrum, so there are lots of different ways that students communicate. Or is anybody so new that they have not? Okay, nonverbal. Yeah, that's one I hear a lot. If you're so new that you're not even sure yet, oh, okay. Gestalt language processor, non-speaking, nonverbal. Yeah, nonverbal, echolalic gestures. So I just added this so that people would understand that AAC uses AAC devices, that a lot of this almost means the same thing. Would you agree? A lot of this means the same thing. Let me jump back on here. A lot of it means the same thing, but people use different language to describe almost the same thing. And if you are a picture exchange, do I have that up there? Yeah, I think that definitely I hear people use that. So, I mean, there's not that much to this slide. I just wanted anyone who was new to understand that you might hear these terms when they're talking about your students' communication. And I think I was putting this here because I have seen people start in a classroom and not have any clue that their students would not be speaking. And so it's a possibility, but you can also be in an autism classroom and students are speaking. So just want you to kind of know that. Number 4, we got to think about, what do I need to teach? So, of course, you're not going to know all the lessons that need to be taught throughout that year, but you can start creating a system and try to make the lesson planning and prepping materials a little bit easier. So it's important you identify some key areas like math, reading, and prep your space to make these lessons. So I think I have some examples. Yeah. This is really the main thing I do when helping teachers actually set up the classroom, even though we're just talking about ideas. This is one of my biggest tips. So I like to use bins in the classroom. You got to really decide how many activities are you going to run in your classroom. If you think of a 6-hour day or 5.5-hour day, take away lunch, take away recess, there's still a lot of time you have to get through. And your students are probably going to get through things really fast. So you want to have enough plastic bins for each activity you plan to have. The plastic bins are going to be used to store the materials for the lesson for that day or for the week. I prefer storing it for the week. If you don't have bins yet, you can just get like jumbo size zipper baggies to get you started, and you can prep the materials ahead of time, making it a little bit easier. If you clear out the bin each Thursday or Friday so that you only have what's needed for the following week, it won't get so messy and it won't get disorganized. And so here are just a couple of common activities that are in self-contained autism classrooms. When you have younger students, these are what you might see. If you have older students, you might replace the fine motor with something like pre-vocational skills or work zones or something like that. So this picture is an example of what I would do. I would create the bins, I would label the bins, I would have baggies in the bins, and it seems like a lot of work, but once you develop this system, you can just put any activity into there. And also, if you're absent one day, the activity is already there. You don't have to worry too much about lesson plans and substitute plans. Is anyone already using most of these activities, or is there anything on here that is actually something that you would like to consider adding, to your classroom? Because I know reading and math and science, social studies always there, but sometimes they get through it like that. And you might need to add a sensory activity, or you might need to add a fine motor center, especially if you have younger students. All right, so that leads us to number 5. So if you're starting out in autism classroom, you got a new set of students. You need to research some current kid trends. So you can, after this training, take about 15 minutes, but we might get you some ideas right now. I think you need to find out what games and toys that kids, the age of your student, are already paying attention to. So why would you do it? You got to build rapport. You got to have some relatability with your student. And then also you use it to get reinforcers. So if that student loves Sonic the Hedgehog, you're going to get some toys with Sonic the Hedgehog. And Sonic the Hedgehog is going to be telling that student that, when we finish our work, we put the folder over here. And because Sonic says it, then they might be more likely to do it. So let's help each other out. How about we try this? If you have students, children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, and you know what's popular for each age, we're going to go age by age, then help us out. For right now, first, anybody who knows popular characters for kids ages 3 to 6, can you list them in the chat? What TV shows are kids looking at? What character? That's the first one that comes to mind to me too. So Bluey for sure. That's funny. I thought of that too. Okay, Paw Patrol, Bluey, Coco Melon. Nancy's laughing. Yeah. So if you are one of the people on here and you have kids 3 to 6, pay attention to Miss Rachel for sure. Pay attention to Bluey, Coco Melon, Paw Patrol. Find out what it is. Find out who Miss Rachel is, because the kids will know that person. Okay, and if you can, sometimes you want to even print out a picture of Bluey and have it on the token board. If you're making a token board, we'll talk about them. We talk about that in the course. Super simple. That's new to me. So PBS Kids. All right, so you've got some ideas if you work with ages 3 to 6. All right, let's move on to number 2. List 2 popular characters and TV shows for ages 7 to 10. So what might a kid in general education age 7 to 10 like? And the reason I do this is because if a kid in general ed age 7 to 10 likes it, probably our kids in our self-contained classroom like it also. But because they may not tell us, we don't know. But we yes, Josie, that is for real. I have a high schooler, and that is still true. Absolutely. In fact, I went into a classroom with a student who was having some really difficult behaviors, and I was going in to help them, and I noticed his shoes, and he had Sonic the Hedgehog on his shoes, and I made his token board out of Sonic the Hedgehog because I figured if his parents purchased that, then that means that's something he likes. And so that can help you. You can look on their shoes, you can look on their backpacks and see. Oh, it looks like we don't know much about ages 7 to 10. All right, let's move on to, Minecraft 7 to 10. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to number 3. let's look at ages 11 to 14. If you have any background knowledge of things that general ed students are doing or looking at or liking at age 11 to 14. So I added YouTube personalities, right? For me, I know there's one guy. I'll just add him because I hear his name a lot. Let's see. I don't even know what he does, but the kids always he's always like making food items and um, burgers. Okay, all right, Danny Go, Taylor Swift. Okay, so those are ages 11 to 14. If you are teaching kids 11 to 14, try to learn a little bit about that, just so that you can be relatable to your students. And then let's see if we have anything for 15 plus, because we have high school students that have special needs and they still like the same type of things that kids their age like. And I mean, honestly, for me, Marvel characters, superheroes. And so if their favorite Marvel character tells them you have to stay seated in your seat during morning meeting, they may be more likely to listen to it. We don't know anything about 15 plus, do we? We have nothing. Okay. But you get the idea. You get the idea. Whatever grade level you're working with, try to find out if you have a nephew, a niece, find out if they talk, if they tell you, what are they interested in so that you can start to build some rapport with your students. Okay. So I think another thing you need to do is have a plan for have a plan for paraprofessionals and volunteers. When you first come back to school, there's going to be a lot of trainings and a lot of get to know you activities. And then you're going to have a little bit of time to set up your classroom. If the parents are working with you, they're going to want to know what to do. And so you're going to really have to have a little bit of a plan. It's not really a good idea to think of it on the fly. So you got to ask yourself now, if you're planning for later, what task can they work on while you're working on something else? And then what do they need from you before they start that task? So here's the plan. You can try your best to set up a week-long checklist. So even if you are new to it, even if you haven't done this before, here are a couple of things that usually have to happen. There's materials to copy, worksheets to create or copy for the first week. Bulletin boards have to be put up. Do we have anybody here that loves decorating bulletin boards? Let me turn my camera on for this because I want to see. Oh, really? That is really interesting. I never. Oh, okay. Okay. So I never really liked doing it, but I always had a paraprofessional who loved doing it. So it was a win-win. Um, okay. Like showing off the kids' work. I love the concept, but have a para do it. Yeah, I didn't love doing it, but I always each year had somebody who really was very creative and loved to do it. And so at the beginning of the school year, you have to put up the bulletin boards that first week back before the kids get there. So that's kind of one of the jobs. Now, if you love doing that, I would recommend you come in even earlier so that you can go ahead and do that, because you don't want to be doing that at the same time you're getting all the students' information, you're looking up bus routes, and you're doing all that other stuff. The other thing you can do for that first week, locate and label bins for each subject, organize the bus schedule that you'll be doing. Post that bus information somewhere on the wall so that you and your staff members will know what is going on. But again, these are things you can also ask your paraprofessional or whoever else is helping you set up to do. Get the correct spelling of your students' names and make 3 or more name tags. Take an inventory of the supplies you have, and then possibly look at the things you still need and make a wish list. And so they can help you with this. But see down in the little corner, I said, don't do this on the spot. Make sure you have a list of what others can help you with. People will ask you, do you need help? I hope you have a place where people ask you, do you need help? And typically when you're first starting out, it's so overwhelming that you don't even know what kind of help you need. So you end up doing everything yourself because you can do it on your own time, right? If you're doing it by yourself, you can stay extra and do it on your own time. But try not to get into that habit. Here are a couple of things, and you can think of some other things where other people can help you um, as you're doing other stuff. Okay, so we want to understand behavior prevention. So if you're starting out in the autism classroom, now this takes time. You cannot, in one training, learn all these things. But when you're trying to prevent behaviors from happening, you can use what's called antecedent based interventions. That's setting up the situation ahead of time so that the behavior doesn't happen. You can use visual schedules, visual supports. You can make sure you have routines in your classroom. You keep that routine going in your classroom. You don't change up something every single day. That's going to cause chaos for the students. Provide the students with some choices. Um, you see, use visual schedules again. That's a high a high need for our classrooms. And then be intentional about the room arrangement and the furniture placement in your classroom. I think you need to plan and have your lessons ready. You do not want to get into a habit of cutting out pieces for pictures or cutting out things for lessons as the lesson is like the students are right there. You want to have it ready to go. And then inform students of changes when there's changes in a plan. So the preventative strategies are in the course. It's a detailed module. It might be 2 videos of that because behavior, talking about behaviors can take a lot of time. But anytime I do consulting and the question is about behavior, all the time, every single time I go back to classroom setup. So if I come in there and you tell me this kid is doing this or doing that, I'm always going to look at the classroom setup, the schedule, the visual supports. Like I'm looking at all that preventative stuff to see if that's in place first. And then I can address the behavior piece. And so, again, it's in that part is in the course, but it's also on the website. There's something about target behaviors. It's not something, a blog post about target behaviors and one about behavior supports. I'm very much about supporting ahead of time before the behavior gets there. We want to ease our paperwork from the start. The way you can try to do that is use templates. So I have some templates that I created that really just get that wording started for you on some of the paperwork you have so you don't have to start from scratch. I think if you do get this, you want to read it before you need it so that you'll know what you have. So here we have in the template, there's a parent letter for supplies. There's instructional assistant PD template so they can like chart their professional development. There's data collection, baggie, label sheet, contact log, copy request, laminate request, parent input, materials per lesson sheet. I'm going to skip down. There's the educational assessment sheet that starts your educational assessment. So you actually give the assessment to the student, you get the numbers, and you have all the right information with the numbers, but this is going to just give you some ideas on how to present those numbers so that you don't start from scratch. Parent meeting notice sheet, homework letter, daily notes. There's a lot of different things in there. Medicaid explanation letter, so you don't have to start from scratch. Well, who is already teaching? Who would love something like this? How many times have you had to start from scratch just to do some of these basic notes home and templates and progress reports and things like that? Okay, so if we're starting In an autism classroom, one of the other things you want to do when you start is try to get a crew, a group of friends or family to help before the school year actually starts. So typically the week before school starts, you have to come to work and set up your classroom. But I'm talking about the week before that. So if you have the opportunity to come in a day or two before that, you have to confirm with the administrator because sometimes they're cleaning the floors. Like it seems like they're always cleaning the floors at the last minute. So you have to check. But if you can get in there, I would ask to get in there so that you can do some things to get your classroom ready. Now, the only problem, again, classroom assignments can change. So don't be afraid if you end up in a different classroom, but don't be upset. It just happens sometimes. So, what do we need? Here are my suggestions. If you have a crew with you, if you are there a couple days before, if they allow you to come in, some schools just won't. But if they allow you to come in, I think you need rubber gloves, cleaning wipes. Like you really want to have some trash bags, scissors. I use packing tape all the time, bottled water just for you, tissues, permanent marker, phone charger. I say music because Adele has helped me set up many of classrooms, and then empty boxes so you can kind of put things in if you want to take them out of your room or you want to sort. These are the things I'm keeping. These are the things I need to clean or whatever. So you're kind of wiping the surfaces. You're cleaning out the closet because you're not going to want everything in that closet. You're placing the unwanted items in a box so other teachers might take it if they want it. You're reorganizing the closet if you feel like it. And then you're locating which furniture will be in your classroom. And if you want to put the paper up for the bulletin boards, I think that works too, especially if you have two people, because there'll be times when it's just you in the classroom. But when you have people with you, you want to get those jobs done. You also want to ask, how do you go about requesting the things that you still need? Are there any extra supplies like folders and things like that? Is the furniture staying in my room? These are things you really want to know. You don't want to get surprised because if you are new, what I have noticed is when you come into the room, the things are gone. So these are questions you want to pinpoint ahead of time. Is there going to be furniture in my room? And sometimes the principals don't even know that whoever was there before took all the stuff out. All right. So number 10 for the Autism Classroom Starter Guide, you have to pay attention to potty training if you're in a self-contained classroom with students that have intensive needs. Because no one tells you that some of your students might show up and need help with toileting, right? So in order to get started, you got to know a little bit about this. I think you can use the protocol here for using the toilet. They have to unzip, pull down pants, sit on the toilet, go in the bathroom, obviously wipe self, flush, pull up pants and zip. So that's just something you might have on a picture protocol so that they start to learn to look at that and guide them instead of you telling them every single time. And so again, in the step-by-step, which I'll tell you a little bit about, there's a whole packet on visual supports that comes with it. So as a classroom teacher, if you're new to this, you have to think, how am I going to organize the materials for this bathroom area of the classroom? And some classrooms don't even have the bathroom in it, but you still need to teach these skills. So a few ideas. You set aside specific times for bathroom breaks. You want to use consistent phrases. Provide praise if they do the right thing. Interrupt unwanted behaviors without saying that much. You still stop it from happening, but you don't want it to become some consistent thing. If you say something too many times, they might think it's funny and they might continue the behavior. So we try to make the area comfortable and reinforcing, and also have all the supplies you need in the area. If your bathroom is down the hall, maybe create a bin so that all of the supplies are in one spot and you can carry that bin. I would make it a bin that has a cover because in case somebody drops it. Help the student to communicate their needs. We're going to encourage them to be independent. Um, Try to end the sequence on a positive note. You can reinforce them for being dry and using the bathroom. And then most people, if you're teaching toilet training for students, you're going to have some kind of data sheet so that you'll have some kind of data sheet so that you can tell if they went to the bathroom, if they were dry, if they were soiled. And the reason you track it is because you start to look for patterns. So if you know every day at 11 o'clock, this happens, then you can start to say, okay, every day at 10:45, I'm going to take them into the bathroom to try to catch it ahead of time. And then you also, talk to the parents and communicate the progress the students are having. So I did not know any of this when I first started. I do remember the tears. I remember the overwhelming feelings. I remember just straight up exhausting days. All right. So not only was it physically exhausting, it was mentally and emotionally exhausting because I gave my all, like I gave everything. And on that day, something still didn't click or something still didn't work. But I just learned things step by step, a little by little. And so now I try my best to teach autism teachers how to teach confidently. And so I know if you're new at it or if you're doing a reset, you want a process that's already been established where you can take like the pieces that you like of that process and use them. The pieces you don't need, you just put them in the back of your mind in case you need them later. Every student's not going to need every piece of information you have, but then you'll make it your own. And so that's the full process. Excuse me, I told you earlier I would tell you a little bit about this full intensive program. That's the step-by-step autism classroom design. So the hope is that you add success to your story, right? This course is entitled to build your teacher foundation and give you a blueprint for educating confidently. All right, so let me tell you a little bit more about it. Again, the goal is to get you confident, organized, and ready. So the introduction in the course tells you a little bit about autism. We jump into classroom schedules, class setup, some organizational parts, teaching methods. I told you behavior supports are in there. And then there's a list of curriculum tools. So if you are not sure what curriculum to purchase for your students, there are two videos. One is commercial curriculum and another is teacher created curriculum. Because a lot of people, and I just added that last year, a lot of people were asking, what should I use for my students? And in our Facebook group. And so I said, okay, this is something that a lot of people want information for. We also have communication, which is visual supports that you just download. And then collaboration, working with your team, debriefing, and things like that. So teachers who have taken the training have said this. Jacqueline said she was in her 21st year of teaching, but not in an ASD classroom. And it was her first year strictly ASD. And the course was very helpful before she started. Renee said, I tried out the course during my first year of self-contained. I really enjoyed the resources. I really loved the resources that gave information about setting up a classroom. I found the printable resources more helpful than anything. They were ready to use and no prep. This is an important piece as planning to set up and teach in this type of classroom is very time consuming, that we know. There are so many areas to consider, and I really feel like the course helped me get my thoughts together about how I wanted to set up and utilize the resources in this classroom to better serve my students and families. I'm very grateful to have had this opportunity. So at the end of the step-by-step course, you will feel hopeful, ditch the lost feeling. You'll know exactly what to do and be prepared to tackle that first day with a plan of action and some confidence and intent with your planning for your classroom. So I do that using the design method, and that's going to be developing your dynamic schedules, establishing effective classroom setup, and then skill building centers, really focused a lot on centers and divide and conquer, right? Smaller groups so that you can get more done. Implementing routines and lessons. I talk about lesson plans. If you have a formal observation, I have a template for you so that you can rock that formal observation. The G is for game generating game plan for visual supports, and then the N is nurturing next level collaboration with your team. It also comes with a 6-part resource toolkit. I'll start at number 6. There are many books about social behavior. I think it's about no spitting, no crawling on the floor, no crawling under the table, things like that. Those are the mini books. There's also a fine motor practice bundle that you download, you print it out, you can laminate it, and students can use a dry erase marker to um, trace circles, trace a square, but they could also use Play-Doh to do the same thing. So you can use a variety of materials to have them build their fine motor skills. Bonus 4, working backwards, is a pop-up with task directions. I wish I had one here for you, but what happens is you just print it out, you fold it up like a tent, and then it has directions for within your reading lesson, math, science, and social studies. So let's say in math, it might say, we're going to count numbers, we're going to do a worksheet, and we're going to color. And it has the pictures so that you can tell the students what's going on. The templates that I showed you earlier are in here as a bonus. And then let's look at bonus. I don't know why the writing got so small. But bonus 1 is the Teacher as a Leader Professional Development Pack. Again, I don't know why my writing got so small, but you get pre-packaged professional development that you can deliver to your team or your school because they're going to be looking to you to guide them. You also get 12 months of an email sequence so that you can pre-plan it. You can, before school even starts, get the email service and schedule out the email so that every month you're providing them with professional development. And the last thing on there that's so tiny that we can't see it is a focus and foundation workbook for paraprofessionals. So you can print it out and give it to them, or you can email it to them, but it's a resource to help your paraprofessionals if they're new at working with students with autism. And so this is what the Teacher as a Leader series looks like. It's a set of PowerPoints that you can just download, and then you can just present one at a time. So there's enough for 10 weeks if you want to do it that way, or you can present multiple in a row. But what it does is even if you're new at this, it establishes you as the instructional leader. Okay. I know your school, they will, even if you're brand new, they will think you know everything. If you're working in the autism classroom, they will think you know everything about it. So this is one way for you to know a little bit more than them. And if you want to, you can say, listen, I got this from Autism Classroom. I'm going to learn with you. But you are still the one presenting it. So you have a little bit more background knowledge than they do. The other bonus is a visual communications card bundle. This is the way the other one was supposed to look. You get 160 picture communication cards, and it's really just a head start on building your visual supports. So gathering and creating visual supports is one of the hardest parts of setting up the classroom. So this has a set of 8 picture cards for you. And again, the bonus value of that could be $205. I mean, for me, it's hard to put a value on peace of mind and clarity and confidence, but because it is a course and I needed to put a value on it, I think that $997 would be the value of the course. Altogether, the course and the bonuses might be about $1202 for what you're getting, but the actual price is $197 using the one-time payment option. I do take school purchase orders. I also do direct professional development for school teams. So if that's something that's interesting to you, let me know. and it's at support@autismclassroom.com. So if you do end up with the course, you have 5 days of a risk-free guarantee. I want you to succeed at this. I want the students to have a good school experience. And so when I think about helping families, this is my contribution to the cause. They want their kids to have a good school experience too. I want you to have a good school experience. And so I try my best to give everything I have as far as information about setting up and what works and how to make it easier for you. Um, and if there is a problem, if you get it, again, within 5 days, if you're saying this is not for me, it's fine. You just let me know. Lala took the class and said exactly what I was looking for, a blueprint for setting up an autism classroom. You are very generous with all the materials that you provide and the examples and blueprints of how to run a class. I have kept saying, if someone will just tell me what to do, you provide that. Thank you. I like that, the way she said, if somebody will just tell me what to do. I got some ideas. I do think you take some of the ideas that work for you and the other ones you just put in the back of your mind for next year, because sometimes you'll have a different student and you have to try a little bit something different. So if you get the course, we hope this is you. That lady looks very happy. I want you to have something you can be proud of, right? I want you to educate confidently. The other thing I forgot to want to mention is that if 197 is not your thing right now, you can do our extended pay option, which is 3 payments of 75. And that sometimes makes it a little bit easier at first. Some more facts about this signature program. This course includes a downloadable course workbook. The course is online. It's self-paced, and you have 12-month access to the course. So even if you get it now and you can't use it until like 3 weeks from now, it's still there, right? It's not going to go anywhere. It's not going away. What it looks like if people sign up, they go to the step-by-step classroom, step-by-step autism classroom design. Our course portal is called Teachable. So you'll see, even if you sign up at step-by-step autismclassroomdesign.com, it will take you to the Teachable link. So you'll see that when you sign in, you have to check your email, make sure you get the email from them so that they are able to communicate your password and all that stuff with you. You log into the course, and then the members area is right there. And once you click on that blue sign, it takes you to the lessons. And again, here's the information about it. And there's the website, Step-by-Step Autism Classroom Design. It's such a long, such a long thing. So for me, the secret to this is really getting those systems and structures in place now before the hustle and bustle of the school year starts. Does anybody have any questions right now? I feel like I feel like I talk a lot. Got to talk a lot in the trainings here because I like to respect your time and I like to make it within that hour. Okay, so no questions. So how about this? Does everybody here have enough time in their day to get everything done? Do you have super calm days where everything goes as planned? Are you 100% ready and confident about setting up your classroom? Yeah, I already know. I started doing that maybe 2 days ago. I put that into the training because I'm like, I already know. Most people are like, wait a minute. No, this is not my life. I'm not sure I have time to do this. This seems like a lot of work. Or they say, okay, I think I can figure this out on my own. And you can. Honestly, you can figure it out on your own. That's for sure. It is a lot of work, but you want to put that work up front before the school year starts if you can. Whatever you can control ahead of time, you try to control ahead of time so that you're not organizing your classroom and learning your new school, organizing your classroom and learning your new students, organizing your classroom and getting all the paperwork. So that's kind of why I think if summer's perfect time, a little bit at a time. I think we already said, like, some folks are new to teaching students with autism and they just want to get it right. Some people might be like me when I was first starting out. There has to be a better way to do this. Like when coming home exhausted and still having to prepare. Okay. Barbara says, since I'm not sure what, oh, you don't know what grade level or what type of classroom. So I will say, Barbara, if you think it's a self contained classroom, then the information could still be useful. If you think like it could be a resource room or something like that, then it may not. But if it's self-contained, I think it's still. We'll chat a little bit. Um, some people have 1 or 2 years under their belt, but still want some direction, right? Or even more years and want to restart. Or you've tried it on your own and you're like, okay, um, somebody. I think that when you first start, you don't know what it might look like. And so it's hard to anticipate what you need. But if you start off with a plan, then you will have less of the stress that everybody else has that first year. And then for some people, they're actually helping to create a new program or an autism program, and they're guiding other people. And so I think it could be helpful for them too, or at least some of the resources could be helpful. And so if you do decide to get that course, you sign up at the course portal, then you email me. I'll do a personal consultation with everybody that signs up to see where you want to go, even if you don't want to use it till later. So Barbara said, will it be available later? So if you sign up um, and you want the consultation to come in 2 weeks or 3 weeks when school's done, that works too. And then hopefully take the course, you teach confidently. I really want you to be a leader in your classroom, in your school, even if you're new at this, even if you're restarting. And I think, oh, well, when you go on there, if you need more information or you're not sure, you can still check out Step by Step Autism Classroom Design and look at the welcome video, and it'll tell you a little bit more detail. So let me type that in here. I'm going to put it in here. Actually, I'm going to put. I have Autism Classroom Design is a little bit shorter, and it'll still get you there.